Hi everyone, Kelt here. Shocking news today that Queen Elizabeth is facing a major threat to her role as monarch after a documentary exposed her of changing over 1,000 laws to help conceal her massive wealth from the public. Wow. Now the fans of Meghan are demanding that the Queen is stripped of her royal titles, also Prince Charles. So while we've been demanding that the Queen remove Harry and Meghan's titles, the tables seem to have turned and the attention and focus is on Her Majesty the Queen. There have been many rumours circulating that the Queen is no longer on the throne, that she will never go back to Buckingham Palace, that because she and Prince Charles opened Parliament in civilian clothes some time back, that actually proved they were no longer reigning. I'm not sure about all that, but there were definitely some strange things going on. They certainly have kept a low profile for quite a while, just seeming to appear in Zoom calls from time to time. So it's being said here in the international news that the Queen lobbied the British government to change a draft law to conceal her private wealth from the public. So this is coming from Omid Scobie. I would take anything that Omid says with a massive pinch of salt, but this does seem to be appearing in other news outlets, and time will tell whether there is any real truth to this. But as I'm reading, it seems as if it is actually true. He goes on to say that we often hear how royals are not supposed to meddle in Parliament, but this tells a different story. Wow. Again, I think Meghan is really hitting back at the Queen. She and Harry are so close to losing their titles, and now it seems as if this is coming out in the news in a way to hit back at her. The timing seems to be more than just coincidence. It refers to the fact that Meghan and Harry are slated when they involve themselves in politics, and that it's hypocrisy for royals to expect privacy, and then claims that there are double standards going on regarding what the Queen has allegedly done. So The Guardian is mentioning this as well. It says, and I quote, "Queen lobbied for change in law to hide her private wealth. Monarch dispatched private solicitor to secure exemption from transparency law." This article is by David Pegg and Rob Evans. They state that the Queen successfully lobbied the government to change a draft law in order to conceal what they described as her, and I quote, "embarrassing private wealth from the public." This was according to documents discovered by the Guardian paper. So it seems that a load of government memos were unearthed in the National Archives, and these revealed that the Queen's private lawyer actually put pressure on ministers to alter proposed legislation to prevent her shareholdings from being disclosed to the public. If this is true, then is there any wonder that the senior royals held back on taking away Harry and Meghan's titles and seemingly going soft on them? So, following this intervention by the Queen, the government inserted a clause into the law granting itself the power to exempt companies used by heads of state from transparency measures. So this arrangement was created in the 1970s, and it was used to create a state-backed shell corporation which placed a veil of secrecy over the Queen's private investments and shareholdings, and this was to be in effect until at least 2011. The public does not know the extent of her true wealth, though it has been guessed to run into hundreds of millions. I would even say it's more. I would say it could be way over that. It appears that this was uncovered by a Guardian newspaper investigation into the royal family's use of a secretive parliamentary procedure known as Queen's Consent to secretly influence the formation of British laws. So the Queen must give her consent before the legislation can be approved by Parliament, and she receives an alert from the ministers when a legislation might actually affect either the royal prerogative or the private interests of the Crown. While the emphasis is on being a long-established convention and relatively harmless as regards the pageantry that surrounds monarchy in situations like this, it's proving to be not quite so harmless. One example of this is in November 1973, when the Queen feared that her proposed bill to bring transparency to company shareholdings could actually enable the public to scrutinise her finances, whereupon she decided to appoint her private lawyer to put pressure on the government to make changes. So this was discussed by the Queen's law firm and civil servants at what was then the Department of Trade and Industry to discuss this, and this was during Edward Heath's government. The bill was to prevent investors from secretly building up substantial stakes in listed companies by acquiring the shares through nominees or front companies, as they call them. So this included a clause granting the directors the right to know the identities of their clients, and obviously the Queen did not want this, as she would not be exempt from having to give her ID. When this lawyer was informed that it would be exempting only the Crown from the registration, he was understandably uncomfortable and nervous about this, as it seemed to have turned into quite a serious problem and was difficult to resolve in a way that would make the Queen look above reproach. So the outcome of this was that the lawyer suggested that ministers were warned. I wonder what the Queen's advisors were advising her in all this. The lawyer, Farrar, was concerned about information regarding the shares held for the Queen, and the transactions in them could become public knowledge as it would be on the public register. So the clause was put into the bill granting the government the power to exempt certain companies from the requirement to declare the identity of their shareholders. And this was obviously for wealthy investors and very much a class thing, which protected the Queen. So according to this, the Queen could get away with hiding money, and so could others who were higher up in government, heads of state, central military authorities and international bodies. So all of these people were protected by this one clause, and this was originally to help the Queen's image. Does not look good. The Queen has always been known for being frugal and saving every penny, having a cheap electric heater, using a hot water bottle when staying at Balmoral, and washing dishes by hand when there. This is often what people who are born into money do. It's a very British upper-class thing, whereby appearing frugal is admirable, and talking about money or revealing the extent of one's wealth as being rather vulgar. So it was 3 years before the bill, and its clauses were coming into law in February 1974. The Prime Minister called a general election, which resulted in every legislation that was going through Parliament had to be thrown out. So next came the Labour government under Harold Wilson, and the proposal became law. This was in 1976, and the bill was practically identical, as it was just copied into the second edition. So this meant that it was immediately granted to a company which was newly formed and named the Bank of England, Nominees Limited. This was operated by senior individuals at the Bank of England, and it has been said that the Queen most likely held shares in this. So the shares which were thought to be owned by the Queen were transferred into this company in April 1977, and this was mentioned in a book by Andrew Morton. So this exemption is said to have helped the Queen conceal her complete wealth, her private fortune, until, and it says, at least 2011, which was when it no longer covered the Bank of England nominees. So it seems that the company closed down 4 years ago, and it's not known what exactly happened to the shares that it held on behalf of others. It never filed public accounts disclosing its activities because it was a dormant company then. The use of this superpower the Queen has, namely the Queen's consent, is normally recorded in the Record of Parliamentary Debates, which is an official record named Hansard. It seems that this information came to the public's attention due to the fact that the advisers of the Queen would occasionally check this official record to see if the Queen's consent had changed in any way, and it was actually during a routine examination of this that brought it to the attention of Parliament during a debate caused by the leak of high-level Whitehall papers to the Morning Star newspaper, and this leak revealed the government's intention to exempt the Queen's wealth from the company's bill. As expected, Buckingham Palace has not answered any questions about this. I'm thinking that this coming out in the news now is going to be much more embarrassing for the Queen and Prince Charles than anything that Andrew has done, or Meghan and Harry come to that. What do you think? Let me have your comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Please subscribe, ding my bell for more alerts for more videos, like if you liked it, and share. Bye.